on the Aggie Sports Network. From Learfield, Aggie basketball has been brought to you by Sports Academy and Racket Club. Your club, your results, your life. Zions Bank. For 150 years of helping you succeed, Zions Bank is for you. Ford. Build Ford proud. Also by Stokes Trucking. Doing the right thing since 1979. Welcome to Aggie Postgame. From the All-in-One Flooring America radio booth, here's Scott Jerrod.
Final in this one, 93-66. Utah State, a tough loss tonight, dropping a game to Colorado State. Again, final in this one, 93-66. While we have a moment, let's pause 10 seconds for local stations to identify themselves. You're listening to Aggie Basketball from Learfield.
Your station for the Aggies. News Talk KVNU Logan, 102 FM, 610 AM. And on Alexa, Google, online, or the app. The home for the Aggies.
Well, Aggies will have a little soul-searching after this one, after dropping this one. Again, 93-66 the final. Aggies much better in the second half, but the first half just Colorado State got everything they wanted. And the Rams overall on the night end up shooting 66% from the three-point line, and including 6 of 11 in the second half. But they were just lights out in the first half and creating all kinds of problems for Utah State. And the Aggies just never could get right in that first half, allowing the Rams to get off on a big run, and the Aggies just unable to keep pace with the Rams in this game. Utah State led in scoring with Ian Martinez, who ends up with 17 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist. Also, you've got Dayton Alberry with 12 points. He also had 4 rebounds and 1 assist. And Jordy Barnes, a career high tonight for him. And again, Jordy, this isn't a game that he's going to want to remember as his career high, but again, he ends up with a career high 11 tonight. His previous high was 10 against Westminster. And so Jordy gets double figures for only the second time in his career and is able to get 11 tonight. Aggies shoot 43% from the field, including 57%. Again, second half they were much better, but the damage was done. When you're down 26 at half, you have to have a very magical second half. And Utah State looked for a moment like they might be able to when they had a 7-0 run and cut the lead to 19 to start the second half in the first minute and a half. But after that, that was pretty much all she wrote, as Utah State unable to respond after that, as Kyan Evans hit back-to-back threes, and that pretty much did in the Aggies in this one, as they pushed the lead back up, and the Aggies unable to respond and unable to come away with any kind of run to try to make the second half any more competitive. Today's post-game show brought to you by Farm Bureau agent Brandon Jensen. Make sure to contact Brandon at 435-752-4800. It's your future. Try to protect it. Well, the Aggies in a situation now where they will be, let me pull up the Mountain West Conference standings here, because this got really interesting here. Utah State knew there was going to be a lot on the line going into this thing. And coming away with a loss means that this conference now just got really jumbled up. And so you're going to hear a lot about tiebreakers. You're going to hear a lot about some of these other things. But now Colorado State is in sole possession of second place at 14-4. Utah State is now tied with San Diego State and Boise State with 5 losses. So, yeah, not great for Utah State, as they now have a 3-way tie for third place in the conference. Now, that's going to be your 1 through 5 seeding. Now, who ends up 1 will probably be New Mexico. Who ends up 5? Don't know. 2 through 5 is going to be battle, because you still have Boise State and Colorado State still have to play each other. And so you have to look at the rest of the schedules here. But Utah State, that was a very inopportune time to drop that 5th conference game, as now Colorado State, who will play 2 games next week. Most teams will play 2. Utah State has that off-week bye, and it frankly could not come at a better time for the Aggies, as they'll have a chance to try to regroup and try to get mentally right going into that game against the Rams. All right, Jerrod Calhoun sitting next to us as Utah State loses this tough one tonight, and Coach, this game got away from you really quickly, and Colorado State shooting the ball well, but also getting a lot of good looks en route to those open shots. You hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. Colorado State obviously shot the ball well, but a lot of those coming off those good looks too.
Yeah, I mean, you got to give them credit. We just weren't ready to play. Obviously, this has been a brutal week for us, and got to regroup.
Did you see this coming before?
Yeah, I saw it yesterday in practice. We didn't have no pop, and that's on the coaches. You can blame whoever you want, but at the end of the day, we get paid to do a job, and we got to do our job better, and players got to play better. But they get paid now too, so it's a group effort. I think the entire organization failed this week. These are two very, very difficult games to play. It's all mental this time of year, Scott. It has nothing to do with schemes, and I haven't lost like that in a long, long time. That was felt very helpless. You got to credit them. As Nico said, that's what we did to them in the first game. In the first half, we just didn't bury them. In the second, we just had a foul fest at the Spectrum. But, it's a mindset. When somebody whoops you pretty bad the first time, you're going to be ready to go the next time. But we try to explain that to our guys. But our offense has been atrocious this week, and just obviously these are two very, very difficult teams to play against. They're playing for a ton, just like everybody else. I'm not sure what clippings or brackets our guys keep looking at, but they probably need to stay off the internet and stay off Twitter and everybody's opinions and whatever else, and be present and try to win basketball games. That's what I've tried to do. I don't look at bracketologists. I don't. Until your name's called, or we had a chance to win a conference tournament this week, Scott, or a regular season title. So nothing ceases to amaze me in today's world. But hey, we got TKO'd. We did not get punched a few times. We got knocked out here today. So we'll take 2 days off and try to regroup.
I know as a coach, your initial thought would be, I want to get these guys back in the gym and really hit it home, but you really can't. And probably 2 days off are probably good for these guys.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, we got to get better. For sure.
Jerrod Calhoun joining us. It's the post-game show. You start off the second half on that quick 7-0 run. Looked like, okay, here we go. We might have a chance. And then just two big threes. And then after that, it just felt
we
like
just kind of died. Yeah, we got to get our best players got to guard. Our best players haven't played defense. For whatever reason, the last month and a half, this defense has deteriorated. And really our offense deteriorated this week. We try to make plays on our own. You can't win plays and win games on your own, and we hadn't done that all year until this week. So, we'll see how we respond. Like you said, we'll take 2 days off, and then, you got Air Force coming in, and then you're right into the conference tournament. So we knew this was going to be a juggernaut of a week. Did we think we'd get beat by 30 points? Absolutely not. But it happens, and now how do we respond after a disastrous week? I know how I'm going to respond is watch some tape, figure it out, have some individual meetings, some group meetings, and try to get these guys positive heading into the final two games.
I know the answer to this question is both, but you were the number one assist team in the Mountain West. You had 0 assists at halftime on the 7 made field goals. You only end up with 8 for a team that averages 18 on the season, and they were moving the ball well. Is that them defensively or you offensively?
I think you have to first start credit them for sure. I mean, Colorado State's been a great defensive team all year. They're third in the league, so credit them. But, I just think, like I said, we've been trying to win games on our own the last 2 games. You're not going to do that. These are 2 teams that if you don't pass the ball and you don't make perimeter shots, they're going to make you look bad. All they do is pack the paint in. They overhelp on every possession, so you have to have awareness out there, pass the ball, and we just didn't do that, Scott, for whatever reason. Just a disastrous week. I don't really know what else to say. If somebody says, hey, what happened? I don't know. If I knew, it wouldn't have happened, right? So things happen to you. It's how you respond in life. But just totally, I feel sick to my stomach for our fans. I told our players at halftime, we've got so much momentum right now in men's basketball, right? We really do. We've got, a coach that really wants to be here. We've got supporters that are really jumping in on the NIL. We've got a great fan base that's here. So I just feel like we let a whole bunch of people down because it's bigger than yourself. It's not about just the coaches and the players. It's about, all of our fans. And you got to credit Colorado State. I've watched their games. Their fans don't show up like this every game. No. You could say whatever you want. They don't. They did today. They had a big impact on this game. They were awesome. So credit to them. So we're going to need our fans to stick with us, get in there on Saturday. It's senior night. and hopefully our seniors will respond in a good way.
Thanks, Coach.
Okay,
Appreciate it. There he is. Jerrod Calhoun, Utah State, tough loss tonight. This game, post-game show.
You were there, you watched the game, or you heard it all here on KVNU. So now it's your chance to give your thoughts and ask your questions about the action as KVNU Aggie Game Day continues with Aggie Call. The phone line is 435-753-KVNU. The text line is 435-554-1175. KVNU Aggie Game Day is brought to you by Daryl's Appliance, Advanced Heating and Air, Primrose Home Care and Hospice, Blue Sky Restoration, Advanced Garage Door, The Logo Shop, Advanced Fireplace and Stove, Golden Spike Electric, Alpine Home Medical, S.E. Needham Jewelers, My Mattress, Riverwoods Conference Center, Cash Valley Bank, Aegis Healthcare, Jarek's Fine Jewelry, Les Olson IT, Adams Wealth Advisors, DD Auto and Salvage, LSS Insurance Agency, Cafe Sabor, The Sportsman. It's KVNU Aggie Call with J.D. Walker and Stockton Jukes.
Well, I don't know really what to say about that, and it's probably best not to say much. So I'm going to hand over the microphone to you guys, 435-554-1175. That's 435-554-1175 for the text line. The phone line gets you to the front of the line here at Aggie Call, 435-753-5868. That's 435-753-KVNU. J.D. Walker, Stockton Jukes with you. Jalen Moore's going to be out. He's got his tryouts going on for next level basketball at the Skyview Gym. Stockton? Please give me some words of wisdom because we are in a unique switch today. I am very fired up. I believe we just saw the worst 80 minutes of basketball in the last week from the Aggies.
Oh, far and away.
I don't think it's going to impact. I had a conversation with Jason Walker. I don't think it's going to impact the NCAA tournament and stuff like that, unless a loss coming up to Air Force coming up in a week. And I know that seems improbable, but how many people today thought the Aggies would lose by 27 in Fort Collins? So my thing today in the last half an hour or so, I've been looking at the last month, going 5-5 against the contenders. It's got me worried for the Mountain West Conference tournament, like San Diego State. We know we can play them, but even that one was a little close in the spectrum. And the last time we played them down there, we needed Tucker Anderson kill shot. And then we've got Boise that took us out last week. My confidence is shaken in this team for their performance. Do I think they'll make the Mountain West tournament? I know that. Do I think they'll make the NCAA tournament? Yes, barring a major apocalypse or something like that. But Stockton, I'm a little concerned. Help talk me off the ledge right now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm concerned too. The performances the last week have been just awful. There's no way around it. It's been ugly, deeply disappointing. Especially to come out in a game where everyone knew you needed to respond somehow, some way, just to prove to people that you are alive and that you are dangerous. Unfortunately, no one in this country is going to be afraid of you for the rest of the season. You're going to be playing as an underdog in everyone's heads for the rest of the year. That being said, I'm not crashing out here because I've seen this play out in the Mountain West so many times. Things just get really rocky in the last couple weeks of the regular season. Teams burn out when they don't have a lot of downtime. Utah State, I think, this is perfect timing for them to only have to play, I think, one game the next 13 days before they go to the tournament. That's going to be really helpful for them, especially to have probably 10 of those 13 days in Logan at home in their own system. So that fares well for them, and obviously once you get to Vegas, things are just different. It's hard to explain, but once you get into the Thomas and Mack Center and you're playing those games in Vegas, it's just different. It's not like the regular season at all. So I am disappointed and I am discouraged by this performance. If they play like this in March, it's going to be a very short tournament weekend for them, and it's going to be a very short NCAA tournament for them. But I've seen a lot of good from this team this season, and I've seen proof that they can play a lot better than what we just had to watch. So I'm going to have faith that a week off and some reevaluation is going to be good for them, because I think these two gut punches, it's kind of one of those as a coach where you go into the locker room and you look at them and you say, hey, I don't really have much to say. I think you guys know how bad that was. Fix it. And then they'll go and they'll do what they need to do. The coaching has got to adjust too. I think that became apparent early in this game where the defense is just not really working anymore the way that it used to. So they've got to reevaluate that, and then you've got to find some consistent down-low play from your 4 and 5. It's been really bad lately. I'm big fans of everyone on our team, but the post play has been unacceptable. The turnovers have been unacceptable. Guys that need to be leaders of this team are just throwing the ball away in really questionable situations, and that has got to change. So it's time for a lot of introspection, and they need to come out and score 100-plus against Air Force and get their groove back before they go to Vegas, or I am going to be really worried. But for now, I think they have time to rebound and prove that they are a really good basketball team. They need to feel the sting of this one, though.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, looking at the stats, it's something we talked about before. I believe at halftime, the Aggies had 0 assists. They had 1 at about 24 minutes into the game and ended up with 8. It was something that we highlighted, the ball passing, the ball movement and stuff.
I said over-under as a team, you needed to have 15 assists and you needed to have less than 15 turnovers. You had 8 assists and 9 turnovers. So, I mean, the turnovers, I guess, once you got to the second half, you managed to slow it down a little bit. But 1 assist after 20 minutes of basketball is ridiculously bad. Yeah. And they just were not prepared at all for the physicality that Colorado State brought to them. And again, that's why I've been talking in the last couple weeks about this offseason. A lot of it needs to be spent in the gym because some of these guys are just flat out. Like if we're going to talk about some harsh realities right now, they got to get stronger. I love this team. I want to see them succeed, but they are just not big enough to compete with some of these teams. And when they go and they play a Power 4 team in the tournament, it's going to be really tough with that kind of play.
So going to the text line now, 435-554-1175. And I know I might sound negative. Stockton and I have been in a intense 25-minute therapy session, which was crazy.
We've been trying to back him off the bridge for a little bit.
Yeah, because I was ready to burn everything down because I'm seriously disappointed. And we got a text that says the negative Nancy and stuff like that. And I understand that, 8387. Definitely understand that. And I think my disappointment is just more with the execution of this team and seeing the things that we have seen them do when they come out and play.
And you have to put it in context too, right? Because we've proven that we were a really good team, but I'm thinking about late December when I say stuff like that. It's March 1st now, and the play over the last couple of weeks has been eyebrow raising at best.
Yes.
So that's you got to understand that there will be people that are conflating a lot of things, and there's always people that just go on crazy tears on social media after losses like this. But there is still some valid concern there where you have to be honest. You have to have some of these harsh conversations as a team. Obviously, we're going to talk about it, but we're talking heads. They need to have these conversations themselves in the locker room amongst themselves. I think one of the things that stood out to me is, can't remember who it was, but someone on social media was like, I've been looking for someone to get mad and hold this team accountable out on the court, and we have yet to see that from someone on this team. We need to see a vocal, someone that's going to hold the team accountable in sometimes a not nice visually way. Sometimes it has to be a little mean. Sometimes you have to get into your guys a little bit. But again, these are grown men playing Division I basketball. That just comes with the territory sometimes, and I'd like to see someone step up and be that guy.
And Coach Calhoun also mentioned they're getting paid. And I'm going to be a little bit more fiery today because I'm going to go through this with you real quick, and I'm going to break down the last 8 or 9 games with you, and we're just going to run through. New Mexico down there, 82-63 loss in the Spectrum. Against Wyoming, supposed to beat Wyoming, right? In Laradice, only a 4-point win. At Fresno State, the Point Shavers, apparently they didn't have anything called on that game, 8 points. Well, you beat Colorado State by 8 points in the Spectrum, then lost the foul game in New Mexico. Boat raced San Jose State, which everybody's supposed to. A close game against San Diego State in the Spectrum, and then only beat them in Viejas with that last-second 3. And the last 2, a loss to Boise, 82-65, a loss to Colorado, 93-66. Don't want to be negative. I'm just seeing a pattern here. Eric Franson on the full court press. We talked about when the Aggies lost, they had a good 3-game bounce back. We saw a great 1 and 2.5 game bounce back But then seeing these drop 2 like this, that's where my concern comes from, because it may not be the players, actually, when you're thinking about that, like how to pick out somebody on the court like that. Like, I can't really think. Even Jordy Barnes, I was like, Jordy's a freshman walking on, and he hasn't developed his game yet. So me being critical of the fact that he's not taking the shots, because let me tell you, this kid's got some speed. And when he makes it around that corner, Stockton, he's got open. He's open, and I can't wait for him to develop that mentality. And as soon as I said that, he had that step back 3 out there that was just beautiful. So it's not really that. But then I've got to ask you this question. These last 2 games, this coaching staff also gets paid to prepare this team to be here. We hear him say the coaches and the players get paid, but Coach Calhoun and his staff are also paid to not have eggs like this on the road. This team performed very well on the road early in the season, and then coming to that. Do you think some of that needs to look at the perspective of the coaching right now and the development? You mentioned the change of the defense. That's the one that sticks out to me really right now. And I'll preface this by saying, look, it worked for most of the season, so of course you're not going to fix something that's not broke. But now that you're getting later into the season, you're seeing teams able to pick apart that zone scheme. You heard on the broadcast, they're going between a 2-3, 1-3-1, a matchup zone. They kind of just have this casserole of zone defense that teams are starting to really figure out. The other thing that they're figuring out is that Utah State is not strong enough down low. They don't have the personnel to match up with the beefier bigs that a lot of the teams in the Mountain West have. So I think it's twofold. I think one is that the coaching staff has been a little bit slow to adjust the defense now that scouting reports have honed in on how to score on them. The other part of it too is that I think this team is a little small compared to the national average, even the league average, and for that reason, I think you need to pay a lot of attention to what you do in the transfer portal and what you do in the gym this offseason, because it's too late to fix any of that now. You're going to have to find a way to win as a smaller roster, but next season you can do something about it, and that needs to be, I think, a priority. So here's, and then we're going to jump to the text line real quick here. Sorry, Stockton's helping me walk down off the ledge here on Aggie Game Day. Brought to you by The Sportsman, has been providing Cache Valley with an extensive variety of all-season sporting goods since 1947. Advanced Fireplace and Stove in Logan, your licensed Quadra Fire pellet stove dealer. And just looking at this, I'm going to ask you, neutral court, I know you said Mountain West Conference is different. Aggies against New Mexico in the Mountain West tournament, who's favored?
Right now, New Mexico by probably 8 or 9 points.
Boise State versus the Aggies in the conference tournament down there, who's favored?
I actually would take Utah State by 3.5.
You think we're favored by Colorado State?
Colorado State, after this game in particular, probably it goes 3.5 towards Colorado State. But again, you go to neutral court, you go to the tournament, everyone's on a different schedule. If you can, pull off the Air Force win and keep where you're at in conference, I think you'll end up with a 2 or 3, which means that you're playing on a slightly more forgiving schedule than that 4, 5, 6 seed. That can take effect too. There's a lot of different things that go into how the conference tournament games play out. That being said, I don't think that Utah State is nearly as favored in the eyes of the nation as they were 2 months ago, and especially after today. I don't think that anyone's going to be particularly afraid of them in any sort of tournament matchup for the rest of the year.
I like it. All right. Thank you, Stockton. You're helping me here. And so is Jason. He says, this isn't exactly what you're looking for, but I already had looked up the last time USU had lost back-to-back games by at least 17 points as they did this week. The last time in general was 2016 to Purdue by 21, to Texas Tech by 24. Last time in conference games was 1994. Long Beach State by 19 and UC Santa Barbara by 20. So looking at that real quick, the Aggies kind of adding to that. These might be the worst back-to-back losses. In fact, this is going to be there pretty dang close to those, according to Jason Walker. So not exactly territory that the Aggies are used to, but also adds to me one of those concerning things. You look, it hasn't happened to the program in 9 years. And before that in conference play, we're talking a long time before that. So I look towards the Mountain West tournament and think, man, do the other coaches, and Stockton, I'm going to ask you, the other coaches have the blueprint to this Utah State offense and defense?
Again, I think the scouting report is a lot more detailed than it was when Calhoun showed up, but I think there are still some ways that you can shake things up to throw off the look. I mean, there's obviously disguises you can run on defense. You can change some of your offensive plays to who you want to have the ball. You can change even just man-to-man matchups if you want to switch into that a little more consistently. Like, there are things you can do to throw off your opponent, but it is in-conference teams are just more familiar with you as a whole, even when your coaches come in and out. Like, they know the program, they know the personnel, and when you're in this point in the season, you're very familiar with your opponents because everyone in the Mountain West is playing their conference game and then going and watching the other 5 conference games before they get to their film study like 24 hours after their game. So there's a lot of familiarity. There's a lot of studying being done. That doesn't mean that you can't get around it, though.
I got you.
I have an additive, though, completely unrelated to basketball.
Okay.
Which might be a nice palate cleanser. Jalen Royals just ran the 40 at the Combine, and he got a 4.42.
Wow.
It's pretty good. I'd love to see him go under a 4.4, but I think he can work with that, especially after like an injury to his foot that took him out early in the season.
I wonder if
he's
all the way back yet. I know he said he was about 80% at the Senior Bowl, and he was lighting it up there. So that's a great time. I've seen a lot of buzz about him. He met with the Kansas City Chiefs, I believe, on Friday. So
I saw a familiar scout in the press box this football season. I'll just say that.
We think we might be going to the dirty South there. But just looking at the Mountain West Conference right now, Utah State sitting into third with a conference record of 14-5. Behind them, Boise State at 12-5, San Diego State at 12-5. I really don't feel. I know San Diego State has been really good the last several years or many years. They've had this really good program. I feel like this is a little bit of a down year for them in some things. I think when Magoon Gwath develops another 20, 30 pounds in the muscle and stuff on him, I think we're going to see something amazing there. But I'm really looking at Boise State, Colorado State, and New Mexico, and even UNLV, because I know it's neutral court, but UNLV gave us a game down there and took us out. So that's what I'm kind of just worried about with the Mountain West Conference coming up. And the thing is I want them to succeed. All right. Anyway, let's go to the text line.
Okay, yeah.
So that one was a little...
We'll start with 7911. About, I don't know, this would have been a little more than halfway into this one. I'm glad I'm drinking for this game. I've never seen anything like it. Yeah. I'm, that was a perfect game for masochists, I would say. If you like to feel bad about yourself on a consistent basis, go watch that game tape back just over and over.
4151 coming up next on the Aggie text line, 435-554-1175 if you want to sound off. When the team looks this bad in both games this week, it seems that most of this falls on the coaches not having their team prepared to play. This is March. This is when teams are peaking, not regressing. So, I mean,
partially, yeah. I think blame falls on all parties today. Calhoun said it in his post-game presser, like, this is just an organizational loss. Like, this is on everyone. It's on the players. It's on the coaches. It's on the staff. It's on everyone. So there's a lot to unpack for sure and a lot that they need to evaluate, but there's also a lot that they can look back on and say, okay, we know how to do this. We've been doing this season. How do we scrape back? And again, I'm very, very, very happy that they have one game in the next 12 days before the tournament starts, because they'll spend a week tuning up for Air Force. Air Force should, on paper, be a tune-up game, and they could probably do some damage there and get some of that mojo back. And then they've got 5 days off, probably 3 days before they travel to Vegas. So things are timed in Utah State's favor right now. You also have to consider Utah State hasn't had a game off in almost 7 weeks. It was mid-January the last time they had a weekend off, and since then they've been playing 2 games a week. So they're exhausted. There could be a lot of information meshing together in the heads, a lot of scouting reports blending together at this point. Stuff like that happens. It's an exhausting game to play, especially at the frequency that you play during your conference season. So I think a rest is going to do them good. I'm going to hold my breath until we get to Air Force, and even then it's not going to tell me everything I need to know, but there's really nothing else that we can do after this than give our constructive pieces and move on because this one sucked.
The only thing I think Air Force is going to tell us, like, it should be a big Aggies win, but if they play really close to Air Force, if they let them toy around with their food and it's a 3 or 4 point win, then I think that kind of tells you, what's going on.
I'd have to agree. I think I will not really be fully reassured unless we win that game by about 30 points. And again, after that San Jose State game, seeing what our offense can do against teams that should be tune-up games, I'd love to see them go above 100 and really try and light the fire again because they need it. They need to be reminded that they can score, that they can shoot. It just seems like they are shaky every time they throw the ball at the rim.
Les Olson IT says defense wins championships. That's true in business, too. And they are proud sponsors of Aggie Call. James, thanks for calling. What's on your mind?
Hey, JD Stockton. Tough loss today. I agree with you, JD. What concerns me is, they're a good team. They've won a lot of games. But what concerns me coming down the stretch that you talked about was these last 7 or 8 games. We're seeing a pattern there of, the offense and the defense just not being where it should be. Even on those wins, I agree we should have beaten them by more than we did. So we're seeing a pattern here where it seems like where we should be peaking for whatever reason, and we can blame it on the schedule or whatever it is, but it just doesn't seem like we're at the level that we need to be at going into that conference. The rest is going to do us good. So my hope is that, with that rest, we play Air Force. I certainly hope we play them well and show what we can do. To your point, Stockton, to be in a position to go into that tournament and, show the nation, show the fans and everybody else that we are a good team. We are a good team. Don't take that away, but to do what we need to do so that we can get where, everybody wants to be, the players, the coaches, the fans, everybody, because it is a fun team and we've come so far. I don't want it to go down a spiral hole.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there. I especially at the end. This has been such an impressive, fun, exciting season above what we expected. So to see it to have it crash down like this, if it were to in the next couple of weeks, it would be really disappointing. And I'd really love to see him turn it around here.
Absolutely. Love listening to you guys. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thanks, James.
Hey, James, appreciate it. If you'd like to get in on the phone, you can do that right now, 435-753-5868. That's 753-KVNU. Coming up next, 5452. I feel like I've got a little bit of my WUSA back. I feel like
you're breathing a little better.
I feel like I'm there. And the only thing, I don't want to be a negative Nancy. I'm just passionate about the team.
Yeah,
to be totally there.
And that's, I get that way too. I think after New Mexico, I was just losing it because we're very passionate about this team. I think everyone that's a fan of Utah State that's involved in this community is very passionate about Utah State basketball. And that's, it comes with the territory and it can definitely sting sometimes. It can definitely affect you in certain ways sometimes. But
I haven't been this impacted by sports. I took a step back probably 10, 15 years ago when the kids really started developing and stuff. And I had 6, 7 kids at a time. And this season for the football team. Of course, we all know how that went.
I think the passion, and I said this during football season, it comes from a place of you just want so much better for the team. And that they are capable of better. You've seen it. You're part of a community of really good people that are putting in a lot of really hard work to make stuff happen for these programs, and so it's disappointing when that kind of stuff doesn't work out, and it can definitely be heavy emotionally. So going back to the text line here, 5452, pretty sure there are some local church ball teams that play with more heart and effort than this Aggie team has played in their last 3 halves of basketball. Kind of embarrassing, bad time of year for this garbage to be happening. Yeah, they just looked dead out there, and that's why I'm kind of defaulting towards they need a break because it's been a while. Their legs looked so heavy. They looked really slow, really shaky, and just not ready for the level of physicality that they were matched with. Now, I do think that translates partially into your strength and conditioning in the offseason. I think they need to really kind of focus on that and ramp that up in this upcoming offseason. But that being said, this is a bad sign, but not an end-all, be-all, in my opinion.
Up next on Aggie Call, you can join the call 435-753-KVNU. That's 753-5868. Cole, what's on your mind?
Yeah, just wanted to say, frustrating game today, but what are we now, 25-5? That doesn't happen by accident. They're a great team. Looked a little banged up, looked tired for sure. But I have a lot of confidence in Coach Calhoun and this team's ability to rebound. Certainly there's some teams we struggle with more than others, and I think there's some things we're figuring out. But 25-5, phenomenal year. Even if you drop one or two more, still amazing year considering everything. Just hoping that we rebound and kind of go back to our bones and our identity, which, like I said, that's who we are. We're a 25-5 team. It's a great team. I still think they have a lot left in them, and they've rebounded well in the past. So looking forward to the future, and I think these guys will surprise us. That's really it. So go Aggies.
Hey, thanks for the call, Cole. I agree. It's a great season. 24-6. Yeah, 24-6. Third in the Mountain West. The upteenth coaching change in the last 2 years. It's been amazing, and that is not something that's being dismissed or I'm putting aside at all. Right now, I'm just looking ahead to, we just clicked over into March. And your words last Wednesday night ring in my head. March is 24 hours away, and I was hoping to see a tune-up game. My favorite games I see from the Aggies is not when we got somebody going for 30. Usually it's when all of our starters are in double digits, and we got two players off the bench that come in and do a big game. And that's what I was seeing, and I was hoping to see that tonight against Colorado State. We did not. We saw a complete regression the other way.
Make no mistake, this is a catastrophic response to the Boise State game on Wednesday night. This was the absolute opposite and maybe even worse of what you as a team needed to do in this game. But that being said, one of the things I was talking to JD about right before we got on the air is Boise State and Colorado State, these were must-win games for them to even maybe kind of stay on the March Madness bubble. And they're still not even, they still probably have to win the tournament to go to the NCAA tournament. So they needed big wins. They needed emphatic wins. And maybe Utah State just wasn't taking these games that seriously. Again, that reflects poorly on the staff and on the organization as a whole. And you've got to take every game seriously. But there are a lot of different things that can contribute to games like this and weeks like this, even in the season, to where, yes, I am concerned about the performance, but I am not condemning this team to that kind of performance for the rest of the season. And I don't think anyone else is either, but I do understand that there's a lot of high emotion after watching your team get punked like that back-to-back on national television.
I am concerned in the month of February and the beginning of March with the losses.
It's a really bad time to do this for sure. And it's terrible timing, terrible coincidence for this to be happening in the last week of February into the beginning of March. That being said, I am not sold on this is how this team is going to perform for the rest of the season. I'm not ruling it out, but unfortunately.
If you are an NFL team and you are heading to the postseason and this was your second to the last, two games, you're getting
it's a bad
walked.
sign. But the other good part of it is, listen, the next time we play 40 minutes of basketball, the last 40 minutes that we just played don't matter at all. They have no bearing on that game. And then the next 40 minutes, it's the same deal. So, yeah, it stings, and there's a lot we have to look at, a lot we have to adjust, and a lot we have to learn. But you also have a chance to go play a new game of basketball and win that game and then go and win the next one. And from then on out, it's just one game at a time. It doesn't matter what's happened before or after. It's the postseason. It's just win that game, move on, and worry about the next one.
I'm really not used to this whole optimistic Stockton thing. It's kind of throwing me off. We're definitely doing the yin-yang switch today, and I'm going to bring in the equalizer between us. Somebody that will tell us whether you're right or I'm right. I think he favors you a little bit more. Clyde, welcome to Aggie Call. Let me know what's on your mind, my friend.
Well, there's a couple things about this game and last week's game. We didn't play very good, but this is pretty good thinking. Maybe we don't have to worry about Calhoun getting poached. Think of it that way.
Yeah, maybe he's sandbagging. That would be funny.
Well, anyway, yeah, I'm like everybody that's called in. I had to go in couple of times. That's how bad the Aggies played. But anyway, I'm trying to look at it positively. I think Stockton's right. We better blow this out. If they have another close one there, there's no sense in going to the tournament. But I hope Calhoun stays. He's done a marvelous job. And with I've watched that Odom guy the last few weeks, his teams. He's doing a good job. The Aggies are hiring good coaches. Well, Craig Smith, I think he should have. They should have given him another year or two. I think they made a mistake at Utah, but our Aggies have been fun to watch this year, and I hope they can continue it. But I don't think all the nation's going to look at Calhoun as close now as they were earlier. Anyway, that's all I got to say, guys. You do a great job. Enjoyed listening to you all season. And go Aggies.
Go Aggies. Thanks, Clyde. You take care, man. And I really enjoyed doing this show with Stockton. He's keeping me balanced today.
Yeah, usually I have to get you a little bit spiced up, and you're doing all the work for me today.
I think it comes to a place where it's a unique experience to root for these student athletes and to Coach Calhoun, and props to Coach Brooks and the Lady Aggies, the A's Blue. They picked up a big win in the Spectrum during all this, but really passionate about it, Stockton. And it's the fact that I told you I haven't really cared. Like, I've watched and been an avid sports fan, but to the fact where I will get upset and grumpy, and I have to go take a walk, and I'll be up 3 hours until 2 o'clock in the morning after Boise
thank goodness
State.
This is a day game.
Yeah, so 3 hours after this, I'll be around 8 o'clock tonight, and I'll still be probably kicking and everything. But I just want to see this team execute and perform at a high level, and I think today I was disappointed because we've seen it. We've seen them do it, and we've seen them play in big games against the contenders. And we've seen them play tough games and make it win, but it seems like they're just the spaghetti kind of falling apart.
Yeah, and just to kind of echo that, for a lot of us, and for me in particular, I'll just speak from my experience, but I've been in this community and on this campus for a long time, longer than the standard college experience. But just getting to know the people involved with this and getting to know how much work goes into this, and knowing that the guys on that team, the guys that just got walloped on national television, are the same guys that are walking around campus with us on Tuesday, going to their lectures and all this stuff. It makes it personal to an extent. And that can be a really good thing in sports. I think when you harness it correctly, it can make it that much more powerful. I've always been a very big proponent of sports are such a big tool for unity if used correctly, but they can also, and this is the unfortunate part about when it gets personal, is that they can be very destructive between people, and they can cause people to say things that they don't mean, say things in the heat of the moment, and we're all guilty of it. That's just sports. I think one of the fun things about sports and one of the detriments about sports is the chirping. It's really fun when done correctly, and it's really damaging when not. So I get it. This is a personal thing for a lot of people at the college level specifically, especially with Utah State, where there's so much student involvement and personal community involvement. It's a small town. This whole town revolves around Utah State. A lot of the people that work here work at Utah State. A lot of the people that go here have family connected to the university, or the families that live here are in some way alumni, former employees, current employees, related to employees. It runs so deep, and so that's why I think it means so much to all of us. But that's why I want to take a step back at the end of this and say, listen, this was tough. This was really difficult to watch for sure, and there's a lot of things that you need to learn as a program going forward. But I still have faith in the people because I know the people, and I know what they're capable of, and I know what they'll do to make sure stuff like that doesn't happen again.
Going back to the text line now here on Aggie Call, brought to you by LSS Insurance. Overwhelmed with Medicaid rules, regulations, and questions, LSS Insurance can walk you through every option available at no cost to you. Call them today at 752-9493. We will be hearing from Coach Calhoun, but I'm going to let you know right now, it is a very, very short interview. So,
yeah.
I imagine it'll...
Again, I think that's the correct way to approach it as a coach. There is nothing that he can say that's going to make this any better or any worse. You just have to go in there, and make your team feel it. Sometimes the worst thing you can do as a coach is not say anything at all. And I'm not talking about bad as in poor coaching. I'm talking about making your guys feel the weight of that game. And I think that's what needs to happen.
From 6543, this is not good. When most other teams are gearing up for postseason, we seem to be getting ready for vacation. Most say we're still a lock to get into the NCAA tournament, but I remember the 2003-2004 season when the Aggies were 25-3 and didn't make it. Not a warm, fuzzy feeling at all.
The 2003 Aggies were also in the Big West, and their marquee win was at home against Brigham Young, who was in the Mountain West Conference.
Yeah, and also I'm going to defer to Jason and Eric on those logistical matters on the Full Court Press, and you can check them out Monday through Friday from 4 to 6, 106.9 and 1390 AM, The Fan on our sister station. They cover the Aggies, but talking to Jason, and he's the realistic, he's kind of the balance to the force. Stockton keeps me from going crazy and burning things down. Here, he keeps me from getting crazy tattoos. He said he doesn't think this is going to affect it. The Aggies still there. Now, I imagine a win at Air Force this coming up week, but
it's very hard to leave a 25-win tein out of the tournament in any scenario. Now, the seeding is
pretty easy right now because the Aggies only have 24 wins.
Well, I know, but if you win against Air Force, it's very difficult to leave a 25-win team out of the tournament. So I definitely think they have gone from a potential 5 seed in December to a probable 12 seed. However, I don't think there's much to sweat about in terms of the tournament. I think if you win the Mountain West tournament, you'll do yourselves a lot of favors in terms of seeding and in terms of getting back in the graces of Vegas and the voters. But at this point in the season, those guys don't matter anymore. So you just got to go play a game at a time and win a game at a time.
Looking next up here on the text line, we've got 0783. You can be a part of the conversation right now, too. 435-554-1175. That is the text line, 435-554-1175. If you want the phone line, I get you to the front of the line, 435-753-KVNU. That's 753-5868. That's from 0783. Can we rebound similar to the 2021 football team, having the debacle at home versus Wyoming before the wins? And they got after that to end 2021. Yeah. I think so.
And this is what I was telling you, where I've seen this play out in the Mountain West before, is you weren't here in that post-COVID year where we were far and away some of the favorites to win the tournament. We go into Wyoming and just absolutely crap the bed. Ugly loss at Wyoming. They had Graham Ike at the time. He was a really, really good 5. But it was a difficult gut check loss, and they went on and won the tournament. So the bounce back is still very much in the picture, and this one stings, and it's definitely something you have to take into heavy consideration. But I also don't think that we need to blow up the entire season because of it.
I agree. I completely agree. Mine is concern for the future.
100%. No, that kind of a performance is deeply concerning. And if that's the kind of performance you're going to get out of your guys after they just got punched in the face, you need to ask them some very difficult questions and make them give you an answer.
Yeah, and I think, the other sports, you think of the NBA where you tune up for the playoffs, you tune up in baseball and basketball. It's all the same. So looking for that tune-up, and, I know Air Force is a legitimate D1 basketball team, but really they're kind of an AAU team when it comes to being in the Mountain West. You look at their schedule, they're getting walked. So it is an opportunity that just little kind of red flag in my thing is if we play this, because sometimes we've done it with a couple teams, we'll play to their level. And we'll match them.
Yeah,
and we'll pull the win out.
Air Force and Fresno are like the little cousins at Thanksgiving that are always fighting at the little kid table and just kind of slapping back and forth. And your job is to not stoop down to their level and get involved in a hitting match. You just got to push them away and hold them at arm's length the whole time.
So the Lobos took care of Air Force at the pit, but Air Force did score 71 points. They did put up a lot of points against the Lobos, which is kind of interesting to see how that is going. So I would hope we see a match of the earlier season matchup against Air Force where we went there and we beat them by 21. But, Mountain West basketball.
We need to have another Air Force game. We cannot have another Fresno game.
Yeah, it's got to be something.
We should have played Fresno like we played Air Force both times.
From 8387, we've got to hang in there and stick with this team. The Negative Nancy's will be out in full force.
We talked about that one.
That'll be quiet. Yeah, it's right there.
I do have Coach Terrell Baldwin, my color guy for Green Canyon, stellar guy. I love that guy. But he texted and said he doesn't think we're being negative, and he wanted me to tell you the same thing.
I appreciate that. I really try to walk the balance because for so long, we've celebrated losing or losses or people failing, fail army, stuff like that. And I am guilty of that, watching somebody fall and laughing or something like that. And I am in this generation of my life where I want to see people win. And the more I get to know these student athletes that play for our team, whether it's football, baseball, basketball, softball, all of them, man, I homer out and I want to see them win. And so that's why I'm very passionate about this and get fired up about it. This next one, 8968. Hey, JD, if I got suicidal, I'm going to give a side note here. I get it. You're allowed to say what you want, but I am nowhere near suicidal over this, and I have lost people to suicide. So,
yeah, let's not joke about that. That's a very personal subject to the both of us, and I don't appreciate that.
Yeah, so Coach Calhoun did a lot of first, now good and bad. I get that, and I get it. I know, and I'm not there, not even close to there, but it's one of those things where I can see people saying we're not going to make the tournament and that being something you can argue, because you can look at that and go 24-6, the record, the Mountain West tournament, yeah, it should make it just fine. But sometimes you just can't really talk to those. And maybe I was a little bit like that when we first started our conversation, because I'm Irish. And I got fired up as I was in here talking to Stockton, and thankfully Stockton is a safe place for each of us to talk and sound off on each other. But, I get it. Good and the bad come with it. I would really have rather losses like this at the beginning of conference play.
Oh, yeah, it's a lot more comfortable to be the comeback team like Colorado State has been, because they had a rough start to the season, and they've just been slowly getting better and better and better. They're better than they were the first time we played them.
Nate Clifford is impressive.
Human animal.
We have seen some amazing athletes and players come through watching them as they've played the Aggies, and I have been impressed with everyone except for the front court of San Diego State. I wasn't really impressed with their behavior out there.
Look, I know everyone's really hype on Donovan Dent in large part because of what New Mexico has done as a team, but if we're taking individual play, I think you have to put Nate Clifford as the player of the year in the Mountain West, because
he's
individually
insane.
He can do more than Donovan Dent can, in my opinion. Dent gets a lot of his points at the free throw line where he's really good at driving and creating contact, but Clifford can do that and score and rebound and assist.
I feel like Clifford makes
and
things,
shoot threes.
And Clifford makes things happen. Like, he is out there, and I see a lot of that in Mason. And I know there's a disparity in years, and Mason, I'm excited to see Mason's development arc over the next couple of years, just what he's done with his shooting this season and the impact player he's been. But I see that kind of drive that Nick has with Mason, and that kind of drive, that changes basketball games. And we saw that today. They came out hot. They never cooled off. They never gave up. They just put their foot on the throat and said, not in our house today. Coming up next on the KVNU Aggie text line, you can sound out 435-554-1175 for the text line. Phone line open, get you to the front of the line, 435-753-5868, 753 KVNU. We will hear from Coach Calhoun coming up in just a couple minutes, but going to be a real short one from the coach. Probably hear more on his post-game thoughts. Maybe Monday, Tuesday, maybe they take a couple days off and, we don't hear from them for a couple days, and you'll probably hear that on the Full Court Press with Eric and Jason, 4 to 6, Monday through Friday at 106.9, 1390 AM over on our sister station, The Fan. 8824, I don't want to start or buy into any rumors, but it's hard to believe there's something that has gone with this team off the court. They weren't just losses. These were embarrassments. The team and staff both looked like they were not on the same page, let alone the same book, let alone the same page. Hopefully this coaching staff falls out of love with this gimmicky defense in the offseason.
I'm not going to comment on anything that happens off the basketball court or outside of the arena, because that's not my job. But I will say you definitely have to start exploring some other defensive options.
I get being sold out to the defensive system. I know Coach Calhoun brought in the architect of the defense, but there's got to be a way to there's got to be a way to kind of bring this all together. Coming up next, 8701, is Albury the only player who got an extra year of eligibility? I believe Drake Allen. I I believe if Drake and 8968, we're all good, my friend. I understand you can't take emotion or tone or anything in text, so we're all good. We're all good. Don't worry about it. I know it's all good.
We just feel very passionately about that particular subject, so we are going to comment on it. But no, you're good.
Yeah, it's been really close to both of us. So 9315, we got a couple from you. Has USU, I feel like 9315, you were in the conference room listening to me, and that's a safe space. You're not supposed to go in there and listen to me vent.
Little tiny cameras in there.
Yeah, USU turned into a late season paper tiger. Those were the words I used in the conference room. 2 games in a row. It scares me for what will happen in the tournament after watching a game like this. I feel like I was bullied and didn't even play the game. Nobody's ever bullied me my whole life. I feel violated and not happy. If you're the coach after this game like this, what is your mindset and your thoughts? Yeah, I don't really think coach is kind of like a watch the film kind of guy, discuss it, and then it seems like they move on and they just put in the work where they need to. He doesn't seem like a real fiery guy to me. He doesn't seem like anything like that, in the big losses and things like that. But
I think the fact that his post game presser is sub what 3 minutes. I think that
3 minutes if you're lucky.
Yeah, that says everything you need to know about how he feels. Especially after this stuff happened with the official, he's been very, I'm not going to outwardly say how I feel like this is going to be an internal thing because outwardly nothing I say is going to change what happened. So, yeah, I would have liked to see some more fire out of that guy for sure, but I think there is a lot of fire there.
Yeah, and all coaches are different style of coaches. You got some, hellfire and brimstone. You got some Remember the Titans coaches.
And just because you can't see the fire does not mean it's not there.
And, hey, look, he's the man. He knows what he's doing. He's put a great season together with his team. I'm sure as much as the disappointment coming from Stockton and I and the rest of Aggie family that we would have liked to see a win, we would have liked to see this turn around a little bit, not drop 2 games in a row like this. I'm pretty sure Coach Calhoun is way in the stratosphere above us on the disappointment, already breaking down what to do next.
He literally said this was a player, coaching, and organizational failure. He called it a failure at the organizational level in his post-game presser. So, he's mad.
Is Nico Harrison the GM of the Aggies, and I didn't know about it? 4153, and thank you 4153 for jumping on this right now, because I'm going to go over and do this and make all of us a little bit happier right now. It's just going to take me to make a few clicks to come over here and play. Oh, this is a beautiful game here. It is a big, beautiful game here. Not to sound like the president, but 93-75. The Utah State Aggie ladies smoke UNR in the Spectrum. They get their first home conference win in 3 years, and they followed up by getting their first back-to-back conference wins, and I don't even know how long. Dude, congratulations to Coach Wesley Brooks and everybody there. Huge response at halftime.
I mean, what an awesome showing of the kind of progress that they've made, getting these wins at the end of the season, getting the home win on senior night. Like, I'm sure that a lot of the seniors on that team did not think that they would be able to win by 18 points on their senior night.
No, but listen to this, Stockton. They were down by 8 at halftime.
Yeah,
did you see what they did
had? An incredible third quarter.
They all of a sudden the skies were
34, 37 points in the third.
Yeah, the skies were clear in Cache Valley, and all of a sudden by the Spectrum it was raining. 37 points in that third quarter, 22 points in the fourth quarter. The Aggie defense locking them down to 13 points. Just looking, you got Mia Tarver, who had 18 points. Lotta had 20, with Cheyenne Stubbs, the baller out there, playing 40 minutes, 28 points. Longwood off the bench with 14. The Aggies doing it tonight. Congratulations to Coach Brooks and the ladies Aggies. It will be a Blue A here in Cache Valley for this Saturday night, and it is because of them. A couple last minute.
Softball.
And
softball won 11-6.
Oh, they did. Oh, I do. They're like murderers row.
I'm going to echo what I said on Wednesday. It's been crazy seeing what Todd Judge is doing this season, because he told me when I first talked to him last year when he was first joining this team is, hey, I'm a big recruitment guy. Like, I'm excited to get started, but I'm really excited for a full recruiting cycle here. And he's turned this team around, man.
Absolutely. And they are the Bombers. Let me see. 8701. Sorry, my ADHD kicked in. You started to say Drake Allen, but never finished. You were saying, looking at the roster right here, Drake, and I believe Albury have eligibility from junior co-years. I'm not sure about anybody else. I don't think Ian has any junior co-years. He's a senior. Aubin is a senior. And then Drake and Dayton. And I don't think Dexter. I'm going to click real quick, see if I can check out his stuff for the past. Yeah, it doesn't. It's not really giving me the breakdown of that. But I'm pretty sure those are the two. And Coach Calhoun has been pretty. Akano has used all his eligibility too. Coach Calhoun mentioned Drake and Alberry back, which I think's great. And it's really one of the spark plugs we've seen in this team. Somebody off the bench stepping up and being that spark plug. We've seen Carson Templin do it many times this season. We've also seen Drake Allen do it many times this season. But tonight, not one of those games, Stockton.
Yeah, there was, I think the first 2 minutes of that second half, he looked like he might get going. There were a couple guys on the team that looked like they might get going. And then there was one sequence in particular that I think just took any sort of air out of this team, and that was it for me. About 18 minutes left in the second half, I was like, yeah, there's just nothing's going to happen.
I wasn't sure if it was Alberry or Akano. I kind of caught the tail end of the flagrant. He kind of threw him down underneath the hoop and walked back, and I saw the body language getting back to the bench.
That was Dayton.
Yeah, Dayton. That's where I was kind of convinced that the run for this team is probably going to be done today. It just seemed like the body language wasn't there, but that's how I watched the game, to see how players are in it, how they're responding to adversity and things like that, and that tells me that on there. A couple more texts if you want to get in. We're going to play Coach Calhoun's interview, and then we'll go ahead and get out of here. And as James, the sales guy, told me, we just need to flush it sometimes and just walk away. So I think that's what we're going to do. 435-554-1175. If you want to hit us up on the text line, that is 435-554-1175 for some final thoughts. We're going to go ahead and throw on Coach Calhoun's interview here. You're listening to KVNU Aggie Call. I'm J.D. Walker with Stockton Jukes, KVNU Logan.
We ready to go?
You ready? Yep, I'm ready.
Hey, Coach. Jason Walker. Don't know if there's too many words that can describe this game, but just what's kind of the initial reaction to this one?
Yeah, I mean, just totally outclassed, outplayed, outcoached. I think this is on the whole entire organization. It felt like they came for the knockout blow early in the game and they knocked us out. So disappointed on a lot of fronts. Got to take a couple of days off. Obviously looked like a tired team. We don't practice a ton. You guys always ask, hey, you can't really practice this time of year. So it's all mental. We got on them pretty good the first time around, and obviously they bottled that up. They were ready to go. So much in sports is psychological, right? And they obviously had the psychological advantage today because you got to give them a lot of credit. They played great. They made shots. They shared it. Played great defense. Anytime we drove, they collapsed. We didn't make the reads. We're one of the best passing teams in the country. We had very, very few assists. So all the credit goes to them. They're playing great.
Hey, Coach, this is Sean. Was it just on the assist thing with 0 assists at halftime? I guess, was it just guys going one-on-one or trying to do too much on themselves again?
Yeah, and, I don't know. I mean, we just look bad. I mean, I really don't know what to say. Honestly, I'm kind of lost for words. I just thought it was a really, really poor basketball game. I didn't think we did anything right, whether it was offense, defense, effort. It was just bad. I mean, all around was really, really, really disappointing. I feel bad for our fans. I feel bad for anybody that wore the Aggie uniform, anybody that coached. I think we got to own it, right? Like we have to be better. It's not just the head coach and the assistants. It's the players. It's the whole organization. We got to do it together. We haven't had this type of, adversity. So, it's good. You got to see how you respond to these sorts of things. They're going to happen. You're going to have some really, really bad games in sports. And we just happen to have back-to-back in a really crucial stretch of the season. So we're going to take a couple days off and try to figure this thing out.
Coach, Jason again, you mentioned the back-to-back. Obviously, every team will just have their off night. So it's kind of weird that you guys have had two of your two worst games, arguably, in back-to-back games.
Yeah. I mean, I think, look who you're playing as well. Look at the environments, right? Colorado State, I watched their games a lot. They packed this thing tonight. I mean, this was one of their better crowds. Their fans were awesome. You got to credit they showed up, and the players delivered. I mean, they
played really, really well. So I think the same thing happened to us at Boise. But at the end of the day, you got to beat your opponent. You got to be ready psychologically, and be ready to perform.
Coach Alex with the KSL.
This was just a really, really bad. Okay. Anything else, guys?
Having some technical difficulties with the post-game interview with Coach Calhoun, which Stockton kind of makes sense.
That's the kind of day it's been. Let's go have a better night.
It sounds like that. Let's see. Did we get another text in here in the text line?
8701, do we have any bigs coming in next year that could help here, that could help their first year here? I don't know about any solid commits. I know there's been some talks here and there. The one that does come to mind is redshirt Pavla Stosic. He's not as tall as Aubin, but definitely seems like, they get him in the gym for a year and keep him working out with the team. He could be a lot more physical. He could be the physicality answer that we need. I don't know if he's a 5. He may be more of a power 4. But I think, Coach Calhoun could definitely look to the transfer portal to add some of that beef, because there are some really good players that are, maybe half a step underneath like where the Mountain West is at and where the Pac-12 is going to be basketball-wise that you could bring up and could really turn some heads.
So thinking of final thoughts as we're looking towards Air Force. We got a week off. You got some rest.
Yeah, much-needed week off, I think, for all of us, not just for the team, but for everyone. This has been an emotionally draining week to be a Utah State basketball fan, because you have such an emotional high with what I think was one of our most complete games against San Diego State after a very complete game against San Jose State, and then 2 of the worst games of basketball we've played in this season and maybe going back even a little further. So I would love to see a big bounce back, and I think the week off is going to do them well. The only really thing you can do going forward, in my opinion, is just rinse it off and move along. It is March. It is currently March, and your season's going to be over before the month is. It's up to you how far into the month you get to play basketball, and so you've got to go goldfish mode now and take it one game at a time, play better basketball every single game, and understand that after Saturday you're playing for the rest of your season, and play that game, win that game, or you're done. You're going home. So rinse it off, come back stronger on Saturday. That's really all I got today. I'm not gonna doomsday about it. I don't feel great about it, but this team is better than what we just saw out there, and I'm going to believe that until they continue to show me otherwise.
I think I need to go get some carne asada fries. I think I just need to go touch some grass a little bit. Just disappointed in the game today.
That's out in the big blue air.
Yeah, it's just that thing. It's just, fan is short for fanatic. And, it's passion and care about for the stuff.
Definitely been a little more frenetic today.
Yeah, but to really appreciate everybody's interaction. You guys are what makes this show. I mean, the text line blowing up, the phone calls coming in. We appreciate all you guys. And we all have one thing in common. We want the best for this Aggie team. We want to see these Aggies be successful.
We're all a little bit crazy.
Yeah, just a little bit. Even I can get crazy every once in a while. I have to have Stockton to make sure I don't go off the rails. So, with that being said, we've got a week off, so enjoy it. I would say it's going to be a beautiful week, but the weekend's going to be great. Snow and stuff returns Monday, so if you're going to go out and enjoy the great outdoors.
I want a big storm before spring break, because I'm going to be at Beaver every single day of spring break.
Yeah, if Stockton's not here on the microphone for Aggie game day or doing any Green Canyon
if they
sports,
draw a day game on Thursday for the Mountain West tournament, forget it, buddy. AI generate my voice. I'll be at Beaver.
Can we just Bluetooth you in from the slopes?
Oh, yeah. I'll get up to the top of one of the lifts. I think I have service up there.
Yeah, it would be great. But for Stockton Jukes, I'm J.D. Walker. To all the Aggie fans out there that make this the greatest place on earth and the funnest show to do here at KVNU. Appreciate you guys. We will take a week off. We'll see you back here next Saturday as the Aggies, their final homestand, bringing in the Air Force Falcons for what should be a good finals finale to the season. For Stockton Jukes, I'm J.D. Walker. Have a good night. We'll see you next time, Cache Valley.
Such a fine sight to see. It's a girl, my lord, in a flatbed Ford.
This Utah State broadcast has been a presentation of News Talk KVNU and the Cache Valley Media Group, the heritage home for the Aggies.